Welcome back to Ox Tools. I'm Tom. So tonight we're going to do I don't know how short it'll be, we'll see. We're going to make a little bracket to mount that Boley Leinen Vise that I got at the flea market the other day. I got a little block of steel and I've got that ball swivel mount, so we're going to make a little stem and then weld that to a plate that's drilled and tapped to mount that cute little vise. So let's get an apron on and let's go cut some steel. Okay, so here's our little Boley vise, and we're gonna make a mount that goes on this swivel unit here, and so we're gonna turn a little stem out of steel that drops in here, and then that stem will attach to this, and then the vise will mount to that. So what I want to do is we'll probably just turn the little shaft first. What is that? Okay, it looks like it's about 5/8 there, 16 millimeters about, and then we have a piece of cold rolled here, and this has one good edge on it here that I'm going to put against this step here, but it looks like, when I put it up there, there's a tiny little radius in the casting, and I don't want to file that sharp, because it's a casting. So what I'll do is I'll hit this on the belt sander here and knock that edge off, and then what I'll do is I'll clamp this on here, and I can trace around it with a scribe, and so that I match this profile real nice, and then we'll go over to the bandsaw and bandsaw that out, and then we can drill and tap some holes, and we got us a little mount. So let's go turn the shaft and knock the edges off of that, and let's go to town on this thing. Okay, we scaled this hole in this ball mount. It's around 5/8, but we want this shaft to fit pretty good, so let's just double check it. Oops, I need a Mr. Allen wrench. Get that set screw out of there. Alright, well, that's 5/8 and it doesn't go. Jump down. Okay, that's pretty good. That's 619, 620. 620 feels pretty good. Got the piston fit, so 620 is what we're going to target for the shafts, between 619 and 620. And so let's go over to the lathe and we'll turn a little shaft. Okay, so we got a piece of shaft here. Let's get that up in there. Back that up a little. So this end was already kind of turned down a little bit. We were using this for some chip control stuff, but we'll just turn this down and then part this thing off, and I think we'll be in business there for our vise mount. Okay. Okay. That should be. Get us a turning tool. We're going to use this little Iskar WNMG. It's one of my favorite go-to tools for steel. Let's calibrate the tool first. Let's do a quickie here. 964. I'm just calibrating the DRO. go up to that shoulder. I'm probably going to shorten that a little bit. I want a little more spindle speed here too. Like that. I'm going to clean this diameter here. I want some more spindle speed here. Let's see, it should be a little more. Too much. Alright, what is that? That should be... Oh, let's see what I did wrong. That's better. Should be about 750. Up a little bit. One inch, 150, I think. Let's try that. Okay. I just want a larger diameter, so when I weld that to the little base plate, it'll be a nice thing. Okay. I think I'm going to rotate that insert. Mild steel generally cooperates a little bit better with a slightly heavier cut. Oh yeah. Measurement. Alright, I think that'll work. That's 619 and a half, so. Let's see, let's check our length here. About 1.5 inches. I forgot to check the depth on the ball mount. Okay, so the ball mount's real close to 1.5 inches deep, so it's okay if it sticks up a little bit. I don't think that's going to bother anybody. So let's get a couple chamfers on here. I'm going to put a heavy one on the bottom since it's got probably a drill point on it down there. break that one. Stick? Sure, why not? So before I knock it all the way off, slip in there with this, if I can get in there, and break that little edge like that. And I know where I was. Like that. Okay, so it's got a little pip left over from the parting, and I'm just going to belt sand that off because that's going to be welded down to the mounting bracket itself, so it's not a particularly important surface. Okay, so we knocked that little edge off and now it sits on there pretty good. So, let's see, can I hold that while I'm doing that? Oh, you know what? This has got a, oh, look at that, son of a gun. It's got a little wowzer in there. We might have to do something with that. You know, this is probably set up to mount to a wooden bench where that wouldn't make a difference, but it's enough to make this thing rock a little bit. Yeah, let's see, maybe you can see that with my rule there. Yeah, it's off a little. I don't think I want to mill it. I don't think I want to mill it, guys. How bad is it? Let's see from the sides. Oh boy. You know what? I think I can see it. It looks like it's towards this one edge here, so I think I'm just going to file that a little bit and take some of that off to make it sit a little bit better. You know, this doesn't. Yeah, this is pretty rough actually on this side. All right, so I think I'll clamp it up, do a little filing on that, and then we'll transfer that and bandsaw it. See how that is. Oh yeah, much better. Much better. Yeah, it didn't take much. Get a little more off. So sometimes what I do is, just so I can see where I'm bearing, you know, once you start working your way down. So I can kind of see when I'm on the level, so to speak. Now, you know, it's hard to tell when you're rocking, you know. Alright, let's try that. Where's my edge? There it is. Oh yeah, I like that much better. Okay, let me get that scribed and we'll snip it out. So I'm gonna push it over to one edge here, or very close to one edge. That way I only have to, I'm gonna leave just a whisker hanging over here, maybe 30 thousandths or something like that. And that way I can just, I don't have to bandsaw all the way around it. And I can just belt sand that right up to the profile. Okay, that's solid. Mr. Scriber. Just so I know how much is there. All right. All right, that's probably good. Oh yeah, it's visible. All right, so let's go over to the bandsaw. We'll make a couple of cuts and then dress it up. It's 3/4 inch thick steel. You saw how fast it went through that. So that's what good blades do for you. All right. Okay, so there's the piece. I did a little belt sanding around the outside, and I don't know about you guys, but you know, when you have a long edge, I like the whatever lines are in it to go with the long axis of the part. So as opposed to having the grind lines like this, right? They kind of go this way, and then I hit it on the deburring wheel. Let's see, that edge goes there. So there's the base. Or there's the there's that, okay, the block, and then here's the that guy, and we're just going to weld that on there. I'm going to think about this for just a minute here. Do I want it forward or in the middle, or does it matter, or what? And you know, I think for welding purposes, you know, we just put it in the kind of in the center there. But before I do that, I think while it's nice and it's got flat parallel sides on it, I'm going to go ahead and put the holes in it. So we'll transfer. Now you guys, you know, you're always saying, "Oh, Uncle Tom's pretty fussy. You know, he measures everything, blah blah blah." Well, this is a case where you really want to transfer punch this because there may be some peculiarities that are difficult to measure, but the transfer punch punches it in its true position reasonably accurately. It's just to get screws in it. So let's go ahead and take this top off, the top slide off, like that. And now we can get at this one screw that's behind here. So we'll clamp that up and then we'll transfer punch that and go over to the mill and drill and tap some holes. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, that one fits. Looks like we got a mark. So you never whale on these, okay? These are just for light spotting, okay? And same size? No, it's a little bigger on this end. Yeah, you never wank on these because that's not what they're for. They're for transferring. do some holage. So now I'll go back, you know, with a center punch, and well, actually I don't even need it. Those are pretty good, so we'll go ahead and drill and tap those. Okay, so this is just a pointer here. It's a broken end mill that's been ground to a 60-degree point. I'm just going to use that to pick up those transfer punch marks. I like the look of that. So I always watch the drill tip when it starts to see that it doesn't wiggle. That way I know I'm pretty close to being in the punch mark. So I'm gonna drill all the way through just because I can. And it just makes the tapping easier, you know, if you're drilled all the way through. Okay. Alright, should be plenty deep. And then so here's that's a spiral point tap, so it pushes the chips out in front of the tap. So if you have a blind hole, what happens is that gets all wadded up in the bottom of your hole, and you got to fish it out of there, right? Or you jam the tap into it, or whatever, or worse. Anyway, if you have a through hole, which these excel at, then it just pushes that right out the rear end there. Okay, so let's countersink this other side here. Okay, now it'll sit in the vise nice. Okay, so we have a little complication here because we got a little rocking chair here. So what do we do with that? Okay, well, I'm going to show you. Okay, so you got to get a nice flat surface. So we got an edge that we want to be parallel with, or we want these holes to be perpendicular with. So we're going to put that side down, and then this, you know, you can, if you got a skinny parallel, you can use that. But this just happens to be a little tool bit, and we're just going to clamp that, hopefully. You know what? This clamp's going to be too wide. Oh no, I can just do it out here. Can you see that still? God, terrible. All right, let me do it on this side here. So what I need is I need that to be the lowest point there. Don't fall off. All right, and then we just flip that over, and now we set that down in the vise like that. All right, I probably should have done it the other way. You know what, I'm gonna grab a smaller clamp. Let's do it that way. Maybe this will help. Actually, So one of these jaws is typically skinnier than the other, so that sometimes works also. All right. So now we can get a grip on it, I hope. So we're in there parallel, so I'll just go up to the clamp and then cinch down on that pretty good, and then I can get that out of the way. Okay, now I can pick those holes up and drill and tap them, and I know I'm, you know, reasonably perpendicular. Okay, so we got these other two holes tapped. I didn't film that, but what I am going to show is somebody was asking a question about, you know, we were talking about the chips getting packed in the bottom of the hole. Well, these two holes they're blind. So I pretty much guarantee that there's some chips down there. So I got a little variety of tools that I use to get those out of there. This is a tool I think that's used for grinding clay or something like that. Anyway, it's kind of it's smooth in this direction, but it's got barbs in this direction. So what I do is you can drive that in sometimes, and you know, if you got some chips at the bottom, you can pull them out. All right. Now it looks like these are kind of fragmented a little bit. All right, so that works sometimes. Not working in this case. The other thing I have is this is just a snap-on pick here. It's a 3ASH45, and it's for picking O-rings out. It's not going to work in this case because the hole's kind of small and it's pretty deep, so we can't really reach to the bottom there. But this is my kind of, I call it my main one, and it's just a screwdriver that the tip's been ground to a point, and then that point has been bent over a little bit to make, like, not a crochet hook, but just a slight bend in the end. And this is the one that I use all the time. It brings that stuff out to the surface. Okay, and you know, this is a tool that you can make yourself. See that? It just snags that stuff and brings it right up. Okay, so those are down at the bottom of your hole. So now you don't want to leave that crud at the bottom of your holes. Okay. You know, if you have to go to the plating shop or I don't know what, you know, you don't want that crud at the bottom of your holes, okay? So it's just good practice to go down there, and when there's nothing down there, it feels nice and smooth down there, okay? So, all right, and then we'll just give it a little spritz of air, and we're dead dog done on that. All right, let's get a little test fit going here. Let's get some screws. I threw some screws in my pocket. Oop, chip, not a screw. Okay. So we got one flathead and two button heads. And I'll take these out to weld this. I don't want to weld it while it's on this guy here. Mount it to the vise. Okay, looks pretty good. So now we'll lay out a little spot for that and weld that on there, and then I think we're ready for a try. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm just going to lay a circle out that way. You know, this is not what you want to happen, to be visually off center there at the last bit, right? All right. So the way I'm going to set the center line here is I'm just going to eyeball that screw hole. Okay, then I'll lock this, and just because of symmetry here, if I come from both sides, like so, then whatever's between those two scribe lines there, I don't know if you can quite see that, there's maybe 50 thousandths between them or 40 thousandths. That's the center, okay? And we're gonna do, what are we gonna do here? Yeah, maybe what I'll do is say I think I want to be kind of equal space between the edge of that hole and that right there. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna put a little mark right there, and that's the extent of our circle. Okay, and then hey, we got a handy dandy holder here, huh? For this thing. Go in there. And I want this circle to be a little bit big. That way I can look at the space between the scribe line and the edge of that and center that up. And that's a real accurate way to center something. Okay, so I'm placing one edge on my witness line there, and the other edge between the center there. Okay, and I'm going to put a little dingus McGee right there. Did I get one? Once again, hard to see. Alright, now I got a little one right there. You know what, that's probably enough to sweep it. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright. So that's real close. And alright, so I'm going to go weld that on there. This is another one of my little homemade tools here. It's a little ball driver T-handle, but Bondus doesn't make a T-handle that goes this small, so all they have is screwdriver grip ones that go this small. Okay. All right, let's go weld that thing. Okay, so I think we're ready here. Let's get that welded. Gonna get a couple of tacks on it here. copper jaws. They'll suck some of that heat out of there, and then we'll give it a try. All right, one last thing before we bolt this thing up. This thing's got a little set screw through the side, and what I don't want it to do is, you know, raise a burr on that and then make this hard to get out of there. So what I'm going to do, I'll put that in there, and I'm just going to go ahead and make a little mark on there so I got a good spot. So I got a little half moon right there. So what I'll do is I'm gonna file a little flat on that, basically a little whistle notch, which is a slot that's angled kind of like this. That way, as it tries to come out, even if the screw's loose, it's still it gets tight. Okay, so we'll file a little. Actually, I'm gonna get a bigger file, I think. No, maybe not. It doesn't need much, and then we can put it together. Well, I had to get a bigger file, but there's the start of it right there, and you can see that it's got that classic kind of whistle notch shape. So all it needs to be is slightly larger in diameter than the screw. All right. Make sure there's no burr on that. I think I'll take it back a little farther. All right, that ought to do it. All right, let's put this turkey together. Okay, it looks like it lined up. Okay. Let's get... Okay, we got this. We can just tip it however we want. It's still in the frame? Yeah, okay, good. This is going to be great. And there's a little dovetail, you guys can see that now. Sweet! Okay, Boley Leinen, she lives. Look at that. Is that a sweetheart? Look at that thing. Geez, this thing looks too new now, huh? But see, now I can go here, I can go all over the place, I can lay it over. Different angles. All right, I think that's a pretty good rig. Clamping. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys.